All right, we're going in.
All right.
I shall read you a passage from my first novel.
Stories and literature from the African perspective. The power
All right, we're streaming live.
lies in the hands of the storyteller.
All right.
Poetry, drama, thriller, fiction, and reality. Africans must tell their own stories. The Book Review on Smooth 98.1.
Studio. Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. Good morning to you and welcome to the Smooth Book Review. My name is Judith Atibi. It's wonderful to be here on a beautiful Saturday morning. It's the 17th day of April 2021 and it's wonderful to have you join me here today on the show. If you're tuning in for the first time, if you are just ever, kind of stumbled on the show, you are welcome. It's a Smooth Book Review show. We do this every Saturday by 10 a.m. where we bring you nothing but the very best in the world of African literature. Now, I must inform you that we have now ventured into the award season when it comes to the literature space. There are many awards are going on. And so for the next couple of months, you will be introduced to writers and their short-winning or their award-winning short stories. And today will be no different. I have a very special guest joining me live via Zoom. Now we're streaming live on YouTube, so you want to go onto YouTube and catch us on there if you want to engage and see what's happening here in the studio. We're on YouTube. Find our YouTube channel. It's Smooth 981 FM. All right, so just go there, go search for us, Smooth 981, and you're going to find us. But first, before I introduce my very special guest, I have again with me a co-reviewer. And of course, if you're not a stranger, if you're not a stranger to the show, you already know who that is. He has asked me not to call him the love of my life, but unfortunately, I will do that again today. Mark, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Judith. Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you listening to us every Saturday as we talk about everything African literature. Like Judith has rightly said, we have arrived into award season. Now, last year, we did do a feature of interviews on the winners of the Bruno Prize, the King Prize, the Commonwealth Short Story Prize. We had shortlisted prize writers from the K&L Prize. We had a lot of people. And just within the past few weeks, we've had the shortlist for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize come out. We've had the winner of the Awele Creative Trust. We've had other prizes start to shortlist. Afritondo was a few weeks ago as well. So like Judith has said, we have arrived into the fullness of the award season. And if you know us here on Smooth 98.1, what we do is quality literature, and we like to also keep we like to keep in touch with contemporary literature. So like Judy has rightly said, for the next few weeks we are going to be talking about a lot of these new works and getting into it, discussing with the writers and really picking apart what African literature does look like currently on the continent and how we can come to appreciate its different forms. So yeah, welcome and thank you again for joining us.
That's a wonderful intro. Thank you so much, Mark, for doing that. And like I said, today is going to be no different. We're going to be introducing ourselves to a particular writer who's quite young, and his contemporary literature blew my mind both last night and this morning. And they're both a short. One is shortlisted for the Afritondo Short Story Prize, while the other is it's heartbreakingly ambitious story that is already it's already an award-winning prize already. So without any further ado, please, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, join me in welcoming prize winner Joshua Chizoma. Hey, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning and welcome to the show. So Joshua is a Nigerian writer and also a law student, and he is the winner of the 2020 Awele Creative Trust Award for his short story, Dear Boy, about a complicated, estranged couple's complicated relationship with each other and with their only child. Okay, and it's also been shortlisted for the Afri Tondo short story prize as well. So this interview is going to be all about that short story, his surge into writing, how he's able to manage being a law student and creative writing, and also his range as well, because I've also seen other writing articles he's done. It's not just fiction, but he's also gone into he's also done non-fiction writing for even as far as a popular website, and you know it as bellaniger.com.
Yeah.
Yes, so you can be part of the show if you are just tuning in and you want to find out more. If you have questions for our guest today, our telephone number is open and good to go. It's 014489981. Again, 014489981. You can send us a WhatsApp message to our WhatsApp platform on 0809-444-0981. All right. Now, just a quick background on the Awele Creative Trust. It's a non-profit organization created to provide an enabling environment and platform for creative young persons. It was founded by Chika Onigwe, and its annual prize, the annual prize, the Awele Creative Trust Fund, is valued at 50,000 naira, and it rewards a short story of up to 5,000 words by a Nigerian writer aged between 16 and 26. All right. So this year's writer is, of course, Joshua Chizoma, that we have here in the studio. And he won the prize for his short story, Dear Boy. And the judges said of this story, they described it as Chizoma's writing is elegant and ambitious, and he takes risk, which pays off, you know. And they go on to describe that Dear Boy, which is an award-winning short story, is a story of the evolution of a complicated relationship and the heartbreaking decisions that must be made. It's beautiful and tragic, and it's a worthy win. In fact, before we came on the show, I was screaming at him. I said, why did you send it to these people? You should have kept it. Why? This is such a good story.
Well, Judith, if I might point out something, two things. First of all, Joshua, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Joshua has range, like you said, range, whether it's fiction, whether it's non-fiction, he has range. Now, Judith, don't feel bad about that story going in for Awele, because that story going in for Awele means it's likely to be published, and being published is actually a very good thing, because that opens into a lot more awards for published stories. So don't worry, we're going to get our full share from this. But whether or not the story wins more awards, whether or not it does, even in this moment, Joshua, we must say congratulations, because that was very good. Doesn't matter whether it wins more awards, but this particular moment should be very validating for you, not just because you won an award, but because that story was very, very well done. The control of tension and everything.
Yes.
I mean, there was a line in that story where he said it was full and flowing like a bride's veil. Oh, that simile.
And that's
he was describing an emotion.
See, listen, from the very beginning of this story, there are so many things here that was like the sentences, how you're able to structure them, how you didn't give us a name, but then the characters were developed nicely. It's like, who are you? And how come you were able to do this with just 5,000 words? Tell me.
Joshua, I also will add to our listeners that you were in the Purple Hibiscus Writing Workshop, the one organized by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. You were picked out of a lot of people who applied, and you got into that workshop and you wrote at that workshop, am I correct? Learning under Chimamanda. So it's not just about the stories he's written, it's about the places he's been to. So
we're going to talk about technique real quick. But first of all, I have to call you here, Mark, because we have to go on a break. We're 2 minutes short on going on a break. So we're going to go on a very short break. When we come back, we're going to start off with just talking about your inspiration and also your journey so far into writing and how far you've come. You're quite young. Right. I hate to say the words young, because now it's almost like a taboo, but you're quite young. But you know, with what we've seen so far, there's so much in store for you for the future. Don't go anywhere. This is Smooth Book Review Show. My name is Judith Atibi. Joining me is Mark and our special guest, Joshua Chizoma. He's the winner for the ACT prize. Stay with us.
On Smooth 90.
Judith.
I even should calm down, though.
Chill. Don't worry. Now,
all right, so we're coming back in very shortly. Just need to go on this break. If I don't play this ad, my head.
Judith.
All right, so just
pronounce his name.
All right, so I'm gonna take your bio again. And then when we come back, we'll just quickly talk about, your journey into writing, so far so good. How you're able to even juggle the two, schooling and writing. I think that's a very difficult thing.
Judith,
Schooling and writing.
Pronounce
You're
his
muted.
name. Pronounce his name.
Eh?
Pronounce his name.
Joshua Chizoma. Chizoma.
It's Chizoma. Okay. But it's fine.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to point out before we go back in.
I kept saying Chizoma.
People do that all the time, so it's fine.
I am absolutely sorry. Forgive me. So
It's all right.
Joshua
What were you saying?
So we're gonna talk about how you're able to juggle the two, and then we'll now talk about your, the stories. Then towards the end of the show, we're going to talk about. Also, I don't want to ask this question until when we go back in.
Oh, okay.
Music and everything in between.
So are the characters.
Tune in to
Okay, I can guess that that's the question we'll be going to, but okay.
I don't think so. But we're gonna don't worry.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going in now, studio.
Smooth Book Review on Smooth 98.1.
We're going in, studio. Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. 15 minutes gone past 10 a.m. It's a beautiful Saturday morning right here in the city of Lagos, the commercial hub of West Africa. My name is Judith Atibi. Welcome aboard to the Smooth Book Review Show. It's the second half of the show today. My special guest, of course, is live via Zoom with me. You want to go see our faces, our very beautiful faces, this very Saturday morning. Go ahead and do so. Go onto our YouTube channel and you can watch us live as we're streaming live on there. It's www.youtube.com/smooth 981 FM. Okay. Live with me in the studio is, of course, Mark. Mark is joining me today for this very special interview with the winner of the Awele Creative Trust Award. It's Joshua Chizoma. That's his name.
You got it right this time.
I got it right this time. So it's Joshua Chizoma, and he was announced the winner of the Awele Creative Trust Award 2020 on Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Now, he's a Nigerian writer. His works have been published is in many publications, Anthropy magazines, and the Abowo magazine. There's so many, and elsewhere, so many, even on Bella Nigeria as well. His story, A House Called Joy, won the 2018 Creative Diadem Prize in the Flash Fiction category. Is an alumnus of the 2019 Popular Biscuits Creative Writing Workshop taught by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and he's now currently the winner of the Awele Creative Trust Award for 2020. He's also been shortlisted for the Afritondo Short Story Prize. And today we're going to talk all about that. But before we get started, let's start off with writing.
Okay.
A long journey, you've shown us range, and it gets me to wonder, and of course you've sat under the tutelage of the genius herself, Chimamanda Adichie. But have you been able to tell us a bit about your journey and your inspiration so far, coming to this very point?
Oh, all right. Thank you very much, Judith and Mark. You guys have been very generous with your praise. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. So I started sometime in 2015. That was when I gained admission to the University of Nigeria. I still remember the first story I wrote. It's terrible right now, looking at it from at this point. But then I showed it to one of my friends, and the way he was ecstatic about it, it showed me that there was promise there that I could do something with this skill that I had, this talent that I had. So I started writing. I started sending works out, and particularly, we had a club in school. We club still runs, the Wokiki Literary Club. So you'd come to the club and then you bring your writing and people will critique it and tear it apart, and then you feel like a shitty person and go back and rewrite it. But then the process helped because it gave me a community of people who I could send my work to and get generous feedback and have me walk over the story. So basically that's how it started. And I kept writing and then kept sending out stuff. I ventured into sending out awards. I think it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago for the Creative Diadem Flash Fiction Prize. It was the first time I was trying for it, and then I won the first prize. And then Afitondo came. For the first edition, I was on the long list. I didn't make it to the short list, and I got to the short list this year. And then the Awele Creative Trust Prize for short story. So it's been a whirlwind of experiences, the downs and the lows. I've gotten a lot of no's and I've gotten some yeses, but then it's been a fulfilling and rewarding experience because I believe that writing should be its own reward. Like putting out something and having people read it should be its own reward beyond and getting published in magazines that pay and then getting on the short list or winning short story prizes.
Now, it's wonderful, but now what you just said was you started at 2015, right after you got admission into university. But have you been able to juggle the two, being able to write and also even writing for other online publications as well? Have you been able to juggle the two? I mean, law is really difficult. I mean, it
is, especially at the University of Nigeria. It's been hard. It's been really, really hard juggling the both of them. And it takes a shitload of discipline to be able to make sure that one does not overshadow the other.
You can't say those words on air.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. Okay, but then it takes an immense amount of discipline to be able to create a line between the both of them and make sure that the one does not overshadow the other, because I also have interest of being a very good law student, and that demands time, that demands hard work. And then for you to be a very good writer, you also have to give a lot of time to it, and they have to read other writers, and you have to write and edit and rewrite and cut out stuff. So it takes a lot of time on both ends. But what I do is that I try to structure my time in such a way that I divide it very well. So for instance, this year, I haven't written anything this year, unfortunately. All of this I wrote last year during the pandemic. Thank God for the pandemic, yeah? So I wrote all of these stories during the pandemic because I had the time. But then when I'm in school, I hardly write because of the amount of work I have to do. And particularly, I'm in final year, so there's projects, there's just trying to make sure you don't have any carryovers and all of that. So it's been hard, but I believe that when you love something, when you love someone, you make time, you make room. So yeah, so when I'm in school and I don't have a lot of, so at the beginning of the semester when the workload is not that high, I try to write as much as possible. I write in the bus with my phone, I write in the bus, I write in classes, I write whenever the inspiration comes. So when I finish writing and then I start editing, I start sending out to people to give me feedback. So I deliberately try to make sure that I create a space where both flourish at the same time.
Deliberately. Now let's get into your short story, the award-winning short story. Now I must warn you, anyone who's listening will want to. I mean, this is a forewarning to our listeners. Normally, when we talk about short stories on there, or any story at all for that matter, they would always ask for links to go read the story. But unfortunately, I cannot share the story with you, my dear listeners, because it's unpublished yet. Okay, so we have the privilege to have read this story. Mark has myself and Mark, and of course the writer, and of course the judges as well for ACT. They have the privilege to read this very wonderful story that we're going to get down into. And it is quite the story. When Mark called me last night, he said, "Judith, have you read the story?" And I was like, "Oh, I was reading collections of memories, which I'm going to get to next." And he's like, "Oh no, why don't you start with Dear Boy?" But I'm so glad I read Dear Boy last, because my God, it is mind-blowing. Okay. So as described by the judges of this particular story, they said, the judges of the ACT, they said that Chizoma's writing is elegant and ambitious. It is very elegant, and he takes risk which pay off, okay? And the story is a story of the evolution of a complicated relationship and the heartbreaking decisions that must be made. Beautiful and tragic. It is a worthy win. This book, this story is a worthy win. How you were able to achieve telling this story. It's, again, like I said before the break, it's a 5,000 word story, but you were able to tie everything beautifully with such limitations. My question is, how did you do this? You know, for someone who started writing 5 years ago or 6 years ago, how are you able to achieve this? You know?
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Judith. So, Dear Boy was really, really hard to write because I kept trying to put myself in the space and that the work is situated in. So I remember each time I wrote, I would have to read the work again to get myself into the mood and then start writing. And I had to cut out a lot of things and rewrite and all of that. So the story was incredibly hard to write, but it helped that I already knew what I wanted to do with the story. So before I started, I was trying to create an unconventional relationship. And funnily, that wasn't the ending I wanted. The ending you read in the story, that wasn't the ending that was there. I wanted to create a relationship that didn't end on a tragic note. I wanted to create this man and this woman, and eventually at the end, they are friends, even to the end. But then it didn't have the striking effects. So I decided to end it this way. Although in my head, the ending is the previous ending. But yeah, like I said, it helped that I knew what I wanted to write with that story. Especially, I mean, when anyone reads the story, they understand, especially Nigeria and the attitude we have towards circumstances like that. I wanted to write a story of people who were accepting, people who someone who was accepting of an unconventional relationship, unconventional situation, and how two people can get beyond their differences, united by their boy. So even beyond the love the two people in the story had, they had a love that was channeled towards one person, and that served like as an anchor for both of them. So the language of the story was deliberate too, because it dealt with love, and I wanted the reader to have the flowery feel of reading a love story, of getting into the world of these people and getting to love them, getting to love the situation they are in. Because like I said, in the Nigerian setting, the first attitude or reaction of anybody will be repulsion, right? So I wanted to create a situation where you love this people, you love what is going on with them. And yeah, so it was really hard to write and it took me a lot of time to achieve it. Beyond this, I don't think I was deliberate in any other way to craft the story. I don't even think I could replicate this in another story. Yeah.
I mean, another thing that was beautiful is the dialogue between them. It's almost, I feel like I know these people, you know, the way you wrote the dialogue, and also you switch, Mark, you want to add something to this?
Now, I was just going to come in and I was just going to pick up on that, but Judy, your expert eyes already picked up on it. Now,
the dialogue is
a technique.
Exactly. I was going to say, you switch techniques at the end, like towards the middle of the story.
Think Anushka Jasraj in her Commonwealth winning short story, radio story. Think Carmen Maria Machado. Think Namwali Sapel in the South. Think, hold on, I'm going somewhere with this, Joshua, and I'm serious. All these people employ that same technique where you drive the story. Now, Judith, you were asking him how was he able to do it in 5,000 words, but let me tell you what he actually did. The first part of that story gives you a narrative sequence. It sets the pace. It tells you we're going somewhere. Then there's a flashback. If we dissect the story literally, there's a flashback. When he now wants to drive the most important part of the story, he does it by avoiding the writer's mistake of trying to tell us what happened.
Thank you. So you used a dialogue instead.
With their own dialogue, tell you. So we have only the dialogue to guide us, not the imagery. But because he has already built a very strong precedence with the imagery, you're able to actually follow what that might have felt for those two characters. And that technique is something I've seen Carmen Machado use it, Namalisa Pearl has used it, Anushka Jasraj has used it in a few stories. This other writer who wrote The Naming of the Moths, I can't remember her name. She's British. She's also used that same technique. So well done on that technique, Joshua.
Well done.
Thank you.
It was very well. It was the delivery was the execution rather was very well done. So I'm going to ask, what writers actually influence your writing apart from Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the godmother of everybody's writing?
Yeah.
So
and
don't call
also,
Chimamanda because we all love her.
I mean, we all love her. And also to tie part B of that question, what were some touchstones for you that kind of inspired this writing for this? I know he's named quite a few authors as well, but what are some touchstones that kind of gave you guidelines to, using the technique and writing this particular story?
Oh, all right. Thank you very much. So I'll just start with the dialogue there. I remember I was trying to explain what happened at that point. I was trying to get to explain, but then I didn't want to explain that, and I also wanted to have dialogue there. So I decided to just show a sequence of conversations where the reader gets drawn in and then follow the chronology of the event. So you start with anger, and then eventually when you get to the end of the dialogue, you find acceptance, right? So that was the journey I wanted the reader to take, and I didn't want to tell them, and I wanted to show them through the dialogue, but then also to immerse them in the dialogue. Like I said, the story was hard to write, and I read a couple people while I was writing the story. I remember I read the Commonwealth and winning story for last year. And if you notice, the author didn't write anybody's name in the story too. The author was writing about a girl, a boy, and her father and the tea shop. So it gave me the inspiration for the story. But then also my friend Chukwuebuka Ibe's story, The Ache of Longing, I kept going back to that story while writing this one because the language in the story is really, really, really just beautiful. I kept going back to that story. And it really, really did help. So I also read Lights. It's one of the stories I go back to. Lights by Leslie Neka.
Leslie Neka.
I keep going back to that story all the time. And then we should tell this. Let's tell this story properly by Jennifer
Makumbi.
Yes, those two stories. They gave me the language that I wanted. And it was what I wanted to achieve, particularly apart from the plot, was an excellence in language. And
which you did flawlessly, by the way. The language is beautiful.
Thank you. So yeah, and then An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. I remember I read it, that it was a novel. I read it that period too. And it was just this novel and the stories helped guide my writing process. But then the writers that have influenced me over time, of course, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I know you guys are going to come to the workshop, but I remember that when I was applying for the workshop, it was because I wanted to meet her. I just wanted to be in her presence and get to see this genius.
Don't we all?
I know, yeah. So yeah, that was what. So she's one of my biggest inspirations. And then there's T.J. Benson. I've read his stories, and then I've read a collection of short stories. Okay. We Won't Fade into Darkness. Frances Ogamba. And any of Frances's stories are just stellar. Ghana Boy, and then A Valley of Memories.
That's a good one.
Valley of Memories was
good one.
Oh my God, it was mind blowing. Yeah, so Gyasi, Homegoing. I read Homegoing again recently. It was just the way she was able to tie in the characters over the years and maintain a consistency in language and in the plot. It's just something that has to be studied. I mean, she has to sit down and tell us how she was able to achieve that. So these are some of the people that have influenced my writing over the years.
So clearly, technically, you're looking at a writer's writer. Those are the people that really, it's writer's writer. So you're looking at
reader's writer.
Yeah, reader's writer, more like, yeah. Oh, that's a good one there. Mark, you have a question for
I was going to
for
say
Joshua.
something, a bit of trivia for our listeners, because some of our listeners have been introduced into literature. Chukwuebuka Ibe was currently he was recently the runner-up for one prize. I can't remember the name right now. It just slipped my mind as I was about to speak. And he was also shortlisted for the Gerald Crack Awards, where that story that Joshua referenced, The Ache of Longing, was highly praised for fiction. Chukwuebuka Ibe is also an editor for Brittle Paper. That's one. Two, Like by Leslie Karima, also referenced by Joshua, was reviewed on this very show by I
True,
Am
yes.
Judith last year.
Absolutely, it was last year. So it's part of the man
collection. When the man
who
falls
fell
from the
when the
sky.
man fell
What it
from
means
the
when the
sky.
man falls from the sky.
What it means
And
when the man
you see,
falls from the
that's to
sky.
show you that we do quality literature on this show, because we do the literature that inspires
I
people
just
to
knew you
buy.
came to come and hype. Yeah, I know. I know you came to come
But
and
it is
hype.
true, but we already did this story. We did the Gerald
we
Crack,
did.
if you remember. We
Yes,
did
we
mention
did.
these stories.
Yes.
And Tyree Jones's novel actually won the Women Prize for Fiction, if I'm correct. So that's another award-winning story. Jennifer Makumbi's Let's Tell This Story Properly was the winner for Africa and the overall winner for the Commonwealth Short Story Prize. And that story, I think Judith and I have mentioned it more than 3 or 4 times. And that story is available online.
So just go on there and go look for them.
On Granta. You can actually go and read it up. The language is explicit. It's very
Granta
well done.
is a great resource for short stories. So go on there. It's granta.com. That's granta.com. So go on to Granta and you can find all the short stories and avail yourself.
They have won Commonwealth over the years. They're all available on Granta.
They're all on Granta. And recently, the W Prize, that's a Commonwealth Prize, they've now moved many of the short stories, the award-winning stories, onto their website. So they have a particular click there. So just go onto their website. It's of course Commonwealth Prize. Again, look for them and just Google, you can find them. Go onto the website. They have all the short stories there now. You can read everything as much as you can. They had a revamp because when I went to the website, I noticed
yes, they did.
as well.
And it was
so
beautiful.
You can go on there. It's quite beautiful. So go on there, go check them out. Let's move on to the relationship in this story. Is something that I was just sitting down and I'm like, wait to. This is such a wonderful way to explore human stories. And, storytelling is really beautiful. And I mean, one thing about storytelling is about telling the human side of it. And that's what we kind of relate to. But most importantly, it's the characters that we put in the stories and how they're able to navigate their lives that kind of we're able to reflect on and we know it. In this story, dear boy, it's heartbreaking. But at the same time, it's acceptable, like it's normal, and it makes you to ask yourself questions. If I was in her shoe, what would I have done? If I was in his shoe, what would I have done? And in my mind, I'm like, how old is this young man again that is able to do all of this? I don't mean this as a shade, but it's like, how are you able to construct this relationship? It's almost like it's familiar for the writer, but at the same time, it's not. It's almost like you want to give too much. Sometimes it's not. I mean, and then there was a part of it, I can't even say it on air, what you said about the journey. And it feels the same way reading this book. But again, how are you able to do it? Mark, you want to answer the question?
It's a bit unfair that we are discussing a story that our listeners haven't read.
That's what I told them. I said I'm sorry. I've already apologized.
They might feel a bit excluded. So let me help them out a bit.
Okay.
Let me give you a very, very short synopsis. The story starts with a journey. A woman and a boy are going somewhere. I'm not going to give too much away, Joshua. Don't worry.
Because I'm already giving you.
They will buy your book. They will buy your book. And then they're going somewhere. And then we're introduced to a male character. And then we're not really sure what role he plays because it's clear to us the woman and the child live together. But then the male character seems to have a connection with the child, but the child doesn't seem to exactly reciprocate that connection with him. So the story then tells us how that child came to be. So the title is misleading. It says dear boy. So it makes you think the story is about the child. No, the story does not even focus in itself on the child's emotions. It focuses on how the man whom we are now introduced to, it tells us how he came to meet the woman, how he almost married the woman, why they didn't get married, how they didn't get married, how the woman felt when they didn't get married, but then had a child, and how they were then able to, push together to say, okay, we're not getting married, we're going to stay together and we're going to have a child. So an unconventional relationship, which is not so uncommon in today's Nigeria, where we have people who have children but don't necessarily get married or don't live together. It's actually quite common. I don't know why they make it a taboo. So that's a very small synopsis of what that story looks like, so that we don't just keep you out of it. So back to Judith's question. Back to you, Joshua. So Judith, go on, please.
Yeah. So again, with the synopsis, you can tell that we didn't even give you the punchline, Seth. We didn't even give you that's the thing with, we didn't give it to you like we should have. But hey, I'm sorry you feel excluded, but just work with us, okay? You might, pick a hint or two. But hey, Joshua, how are you able to do this?
Oh, okay. All right. So I join you in apologizing to the listeners, and and then hopefully it will be published somewhere it will be accessible to. Yeah. So I plan on publishing it. So yeah, for the relationship, I'm increasingly drawn to unconventional relationships, right, between people. And if you read Collector of Memories, yeah, you read that one too. It was an unconventional relationship between a group of women who were just living and doing their thing. And I tried not to give an explanation for that, for how three sisters were living with one child, and no explanation for that, just as a matter of course existing that way. And that was what I tried to achieve with their boy too. So you find two people who are unmarried, they have a child together, and I'm not attaching a value judgment, so it's neither good or bad, it's just what it is. But then also increasingly drawn to creating not just what is, but what could be, creating a world that could be. And it is political in a sense, like I said, because of how Nigeria is, and how if someone found out what the lady found out about the man, how the person will react. You get. So I wanted to create a situation where we could have non-judgment, where we could have even acceptance, because at some point where there was a phone call between the both of them, and they were talking about how the boy was becoming increasingly fraternal with the woman's fiance. I wanted to, so they were having that phone call, and then she asked him how he was doing and how he was living. So I wanted to create a situation where what we consider repulsive we can get to the point where we have acceptance for it. So I was deliberate with doing that. So in my mind, when I was writing the story, that was the end. That was the goal. So it helped shape the nature of the relationship and shape the nature of my writing. But like I said, it was hard. It was hard. Of course. At some point, I was wondering, this man is such a terrible person. How would you keep this kind of secret? How would you do that to someone else? And then also the woman at the end, she does what she does to him, and I'm thinking, we thought you were a good person, and then you turn out to be a very, very terrible person, right? And
but from the very beginning, I was like, she's a very terrible person.
No, but she wasn't.
Why have you been straining this man for so long from university? What kind of difficult character are you?
Yeah, I don't agree with Judith. She wasn't terrible. Don't mind Judith. She wasn't a terrible person. She was actually really nice. But yes, at the end, you come away with the feeling of, why did you have this capacity to do this thing? Have you been planning
exactly. Have you been planning? I'm so glad you agree on that.
I remember reading an American Marriage, and that was the sense I got from reading about the characters and thinking, how would you leave your husband? Your husband is in jail, and then you go on to marry your best friend who was there when you got married to your husband. Then your husband comes out and then finds you about to get married to this guy, and you divorce him in jail and leave him for a crime he didn't commit. But then I was able to feel empathy for all of the characters there, and that was also what I tried to achieve here too, so that the reader reads and then gets away with the feeling that, I understand what this person did, and maybe placed in a similar situation, I could do the same thing, because really she was trying to protect their boy. She was trying to make sure that the boy was with her and that she was able to nurture their boy, and the man was not going to have it. Essentially, it's a journey into the human ability to lash back, ability to defend ourselves, ability to hurt others deeply if it comes to it, if it means defending ourselves. Yeah, so I believe that essentially at our core, we have the ability to be mean, to hurt others. So it depends on whether you want to do that or what could be the conditions that would necessitate you doing that. So that was what I tried to achieve, and it was hard, but I hope it worked to some extent.
It worked. I mean, it's an award-winning short story, so of course it did work. We're going to take a break here. When we come back on the other side, we're going to dive into the other shortlisted short story for Afritondo, and we're going to also take your messages as well. Stay with us. This is the Smooth Book Review. My name is Judith Atibi. Mark is with me, and of course our special guest Joshua Chizoma. Don't go anywhere.
On Smooth 98.1. Changed when I discovered African books.
So that's really good. That's really good. That's really good.
I write about things
So we're almost there.
Judith, I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, me too.
I guess we have to fly away from Lagos.
We need. Okay, so the Judith, piece of trivia. When we get back on Aisha, I'll just drop a piece of trivia for our listeners as well about something he meant. Yeah. But Judith, people are listening. Someone is texting me from Abuja, and he's like, "Judith sounds so good," and I'm like, "Duh."
I'm shy. Tell him I said thank you. And is he single?
I wouldn't have him for you though, just saying.
Okay, no worries.
And you trust my judgment, don't you?
Of course I do. Jesus Christ.
Cook the difference.
Hope he's not watching us on the live stream.
Priority.
All right, so we don't have enough time when we come back. We have about 5 to 8 more minutes when we come back. So we're going to come on here, and I'm going to ask you that question I wanted to ask you since.
Be assured.
Okay.
And then, I wish you could go into. I also liked A Collector of Memories. It was quite beautiful. I liked it too. In fact, I went off it thinking about it. I was like, no, wow, this guy, not for you. Just the right like this. No, wow.
Book review on Smooth 98.
All right, we're going in. Studio. Smooth 98.1. I love music, love life. This is the Smooth Book Review. 45 minutes gone past 10 a.m. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in the city of Lagos. And this is the Smooth Book Review. My guest is Mark, and of course, my special guest, award winner Joshua Chizoma.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So Judith.
Yeah.
A piece of trivia for our listeners. The Awele Creative Trust Prize was founded by Chika Onigiri. And Chika Onigiri was shortlisted for the Kane Prize in the year 2004, I believe. And she's also won the BBC Short Story Prize, or Short Story Competition, if I'm correct. So Chika Onigiri is one of those writers who saw a void and then decided, okay, so how can we reward African writing? And then put her mouth where her money was, and then created something that has actually been very instrumental, very small, but very instrumental in, giving writers that sense of validation that comes from reading them. Also, Joshua's story, Dear Boy, if you want to read another version of Joshua's story, search for Arinze Ifekandu's Redemption Song. Why? Because the stories explore something similar but have different outcomes. And Arinze Ifekandu was also shortlisted for the Kane Prize in the year 2017. I believe we had this poetry during Poetry Week as well.
Yes, we did. We had this poetry.
Yes. So you can also find Arinze Ifekandu's work. He was also shortlisted for the Kane Prize, and he recently had the story out on gonorrhea, Alobam, which you can also read. So it can give you a sense of what Joshua's story is like. I say no more.
Okay, you can also speaking of stories. I have a message here. This is from David. It goes, "Good morning, Judith, and the lover of your life, Mark." See, people are coming on with this.
I'm single and searching, so no, go on.
If anything has taught you, this story is a clear example that we can be above companionship. We can be at that sweet spot where you're my friend and I'm still single. And
please read our messages. Go away.
I have a message, and it goes, my name is David. Congratulations to Joshua Chizoma on the winning of the Awele Creative Trust. I remember reading his story in Agbo magazine 1888. God, 1888. And I spent a whole week rereading that story and other works of his. He has been an inspiration for me and an assurance that writing in the dark isn't the end. There would be light at the end of the tunnel. I will continue with your craft, awaiting a Commonwealth Short Story Prize for you. Whoa, that's a congratulations there.
Thank you so much, David.
I have this one here. This is from Tosa, and it goes, "Good morning, everyone. I'm enjoying the conversation this morning with your guests, Joshua and Mark. I would definitely go and get his book when it's out." And that's from Tosa. And see, you already have winners here, people who are cheering you on and ready to buy that book when it eventually comes out. But hey, before that, as we end the show today, I want to quickly talk about your other shortlisted story for the award, and that's the Afritondo Short Story Prize, and it's called Collector of Memories, which tells a story of a young girl who lives with three women, and she was adopted, not really adopted per se. Towards the end, you kind of understand the dynamics of her birth story, and so many things in place, and why. And I mean, when I read this story, it's just a character that was other people's lives. She's telling so many stories from other people, but there's something special about her that made me think about this particular story that we just reviewed, which is Dear Boy. And which brings me to my question that I wanted to ask you. I said I was going to ask you during the course of the show, and that is how you write women. There are not many people who can write women the way you wrote women. They're either slipper, there's a way, they talk about women or the way they write women. But the way you wrote these women in this book, the three sisters, Mark is laughing and he's on mute. The three sisters, this particular character and the collector of memories, and also the woman in Dear Boy, the mother in Dear Boy. Joshua, Guinea come here. I mean, how would I ask in Igbo? But again, I mean, how are you able to do this? Not many male writers can do this.
I mean, he loves his sisters. That's the answer. His bio literally says he loves his sisters. So take it from me.
So in an earlier bio, not the one you read today, in an earlier bio, I had written that I love my three sisters very dearly. So they've influenced my writing. But then again, there's the place of research. I remember writing Collector of Memories. We were arguing about one thing. I was arguing about one thing with my friends, and I had to call different girls to ask them, okay, what's actually the real stuff? What happens in this sort of situation? And I was trying not to get into the place where I don't do a good job by the women in my stories. So I deliberately try to create a situation where I listen to them, I ask them questions, and then I try to embody the characters. So I'm walking on the road and I'm thinking, so I'm in my character's head, and I'm thinking, okay, what would they do in a situation like this? How would they react in a situation like this? So it's not just about writing female characters now, but then writing that character who just happens to be female. So the character is unique in the sense that they fit all of the boxes I created for them. But then aside that, when you come out and then you place them with the standard of a woman, how would the woman react in that sort of situation and a woman's experiences, it might fall short. But then I try to make up for that by doing a lot of research. For that.
Lots of research and lots of research.
Just to add to what Mark said about Arinze Fakando, if you wanted to read, I think you should read Alobam, but then if you wanted to get a sense of what you'd get in my story, I think you should read God's Children and Little Broken Things. Okay. It was the one that got shortlisted.
We're talking about this last week, or was it the week before? Myself and Mark. I was telling him that I read that story sometimes. And I just go back to it sometimes. I don't know why.
Good.
I don't know why.
Yeah. That story is just amazing. Yes.
I just go back. I don't know why. But hey, this has brought us to the very end of the show. Mark, do you have any final question for our guests before?
Oh no, I have no questions. Just say congratulations, Joshua.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter whether you get more awards or not. Enjoy the validation in this moment. You're a good writer, whether or not there are awards, but we are very happy that you are recognized. And we do hope for more future recognition, whether in book sales or in city tours or anything, really.
I
We do
mean,
wish you the very best from
we
Smooth
wish you so
98.1 and
much.
Judy and myself.
Yes,
Thank
we
you
wish you
very
so much.
much.
And the text messages are like, there are evidence. It is evidence that you are a good writer, and so much is in store for you. I cannot wait for, I keep saying this every time on the show, that I cannot wait for young writers, more writers, and how we're going to continue to push the boundary when it comes to African literature, and this time Nigerian literature, with the works I'm seeing that come to my desk every single day. So congratulations to you, Joshua Chizoma.
Thank you very much.
We hope we're going to see more of you. And I hope that after the projects and after the law school, many more is in store for you. This brings us to the very end of the Smooth Book Review Show. My name is Judith Atibi. Mark, you know I love you. Mwah. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Single and
Thank
searching.
you.
Mwah, I love you too. I'm single and searching. Let's just put it out there so that you don't ruin my chances.
You can join me next week, Saturday. It's going to be another fun episode right here on the Smooth Book Review Show. My name is Judith Atibi. Catch this recap. It's going to be live on our YouTube, so go on there and catch it whenever you can. It's www.youtube.com/smooth981fm. Joshua, where can they find you on all socials?
Oh yeah, on Facebook, Joshua Chizoma, on Instagram, Joshua Chizoma, and then on Twitter, Emeka_Chizoma.
I was looking for you on Twitter and I couldn't find you. Emeka_Chizoma.
Yeah,
My
but
name
I
is Judith.
tweeted the flyer so you could see me.
Yeah. Yes, wonderful. My name is Judith Atibi, and of course, you can find me on all social media platform at Judith Atibi on Instagram and at Judith_Atibi on Twitter. Stick around, more is coming up on the other side. Total Football comes up next after this. My name is Judith. It's goodbye, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye. Bye, everyone.
Read you a passage from my
All right. Thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank
And you're
you.
such a wonderful person to talk to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Judith.
Congratulations.
Award
Yes, thank
season
you
is
very
going
much.
to be lit.
Yeah. So I'll tune in next week. You guys are going to be having someone over too next week, yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to see. Okay, next week. Unfortunately, next week, the station wants me to interview